Episode 11. Shalom, this is Rabbi Eliyahu Mitrov with this week's Talmud podcast. We're continuing in the Gemara Bava Metzia, Parak Hamafkid, the third parak, and we're about to begin the Gemara. The Gemara reads like this. Lama le'lamas nisin behema v'lama le'lamas nisin kelim. Why did the Mishnah have to teach both behema, an animal that got stolen or lost, and kelim got stolen or lost? Why do we need two different cases? In general, we like to teach one case and make a binyan av out of that case. Just teach behema, and we'll know that if the shomer pays, he will acquire the kefel. And from there, we can learn every other object. Why don't we just make a binyan av? Why do we need two separate cases? So the Gemara wants to explain. Sirichi. Di tano behema havamina behemahu the maknir kefela. That if we would have taught just behema, we would have thought in the case of behema, that's where the original owner is willing to give him the kefel, the fine, which will go to the shomer. Why? Because meshum de nafish tircha le'aluya la'afuka. Because it's difficult to take care of an animal, bringing the animal in and bringing the animal out. Aval kelim de lo nafish techehu, but kelim there's no tircha at all. You just put the thing in your garage and you leave it there. Emelo makne le kefela. I would say maybe he doesn't get the kefel. Why should the original owner give away the kefel in a case where it's so simple to watch the object? Vitana kelim, and if I would have just taught kelim things, havamina kelim hu the makne le kefela. In such a case, yes, he would give away the kefel. Why? Meshum de lo nafish kefele. Because the kefel only stays at double. It never goes up to 4 or 5. Aval behema de ki tevach v'mocher. If the case will be where the thief shechted the animal and sold the animal, the mishalem tishlumi arba v'chamisha, 4 or 5 times the amount, I would say no. So even if we would know that by kelim he gets the kefel if he pays, we wouldn't know it by behema because it's a much greater amount. So you would think that the original owner is not willing to give it away so easily. Siricha, and that's why you need to teach both. The Gemara continues and says, Matkiv le'roi bar Chama. Rabbi Bar Chama has a difficulty. A man cannot sell something that's not yet in the world. How is it possible that the owner of this thing can give away the kefel, can makne it, exactly what it said in the Gemara? We see it's in the hands of the original owner. How is it possible that this original owner can give away the kefel when the kefel doesn't even exist? The kefel only exists in the future after it's stolen and after they catch the ganav. At that point, if he doesn't give himself in before that, so then there's kefel. So how can he give away the kefel as soon as he pays? How does it work? Where's the kinyan? You can't acquire or sell something that's not in the world yet. That is the kasha of Rabbi Bar Chama. So now the Rashis read like this. The makni le kefela, he gives over the kefel. Habailim, makinan l'shomer. They give this thing to the shomer, what? Kefel atid, the future fine that's going to come out of this thing. L'shtalem, to the one who pays. Keda amar l'kamar, like it says. Shebishas mesira lo, at the time when he hands over the animal, the shomer to the shomer, amanas kein masarala, he had in mind that he should acquire the future kefil. Deim tignav v'yirtze, that if it would get stolen, v'yirtze v'yishalem, and the guy wants to pay, yehei kefil shalo, he's going to get the kefil. So the Rashi is really giving away the answer already because he's saying it's almanas. He's giving it to him on the condition that he pays. The future kefil will become his. The Rashi continues and says, you would say that if he gave him the behema, he wouldn't get the kefil by the kelim. Lo masra lo matechila almanas kain. He didn't have in mind that if you gave him kelim, that in the future he's going to get it. The Rashi continues, and that's talking about if you knew Kalim, you wouldn't know Behema, because Kalim doesn't go up so much, it's just double. She'ein ba liyadei arba v'chamisha, it doesn't have this concept of 4 or 5 times. She'einu nohag elu b'shur v'sei bovad, that's only talking about animals and not Kalim. Mat kiflei Rabbi Bar Chama, Rashi says, listen to this, Amasni Sinkai. Rashi wants to explain that the kasha of Rabbi Bar Chama is on the Mishnah, not on the Gemara. Which means we already had a concept that the kefil is a davar shelo ba'olam already in the Mishnah. We're going to see in a minute that the Ritva is going to disagree with this. And this is what the Ritva says. He says, Perish Rashi Zal, that on the Mishnah, Rabbi Bar Chama's question was, hey, it's a davar shelo ba'olam. How can he possibly give it to another person? He can't give to his friend something that's not in the world. How is it possible that he can sell or give over to this shomer who pays him? He's going to give him the kefel. If the kefel doesn't even exist, he's not even chayiv, he's not responsible to give kefel until the ganav is chayiv. If the ganav runs away at that point and they catch him later, so then he's chayiv the kefel, but not now. So the Ritva says the kasha is excellent, except it's not on the Mishnah, he wants to say. V'lo nihira. It doesn't appear to me that it's on the Mishnah. Why? The Lishna of the kasha of Rabbi Bar Chama was matkifle, which I believe is a pircha, an internal kasha. V'lo itmar b'shum duksa. We never saw such a thing. This type of difficulty is never asked on the Mishnah. The Ritva says in Old Shas, he never saw the Lashon matkif, which is a very strong language against the Mishnah. And therefore he would rather say, no, there's no problem with the Mishnah at all. The dilm at the time when the Mishnah mishum de Rabbanan makne lekafela me'tikun olam. Because without the Gemara, we can learn simply the Mishnah. How did this shomer acquire the kefa when he paid? He acquired it because the rabbi said anybody who pays will get the kefel. Why? Tikun olam. We want to make sure that people continue to help other people. We want to make sure that a guy is going to watch another guy's thing. So if people know that they get the kefel, it's true they take a chance that they may be responsible. But if they know that they get the kefel, they'll take that chance. And it was a tikkun olam, which has nothing to do with the Gemara. The Gemara was saying it was in the hand of the Baal. The Baal was the one handing over the kefel. Now it comes out, if you just read the Mishnah without the Gemara, it's a possibility that the reason why the person got the kefil was because of tikkun olam. Avahashta. But now, the perusha but tzarichosa. But afterwards, further in the Gemara said, hey, wait a second. Why do we need both kelim and behema? Teach one is enough. So once the Gemara explained the need for these two things, the la'ayel taimu mishum debal pikadon hu makne lekafela, and the reason, the logic, and the mechanism, the legal mechanism the Gemara is using is that the Baal, the original owner, is willing to give over, depending on the two svaras, whether it be behema or whether it be kelim, but it's still in his hands. In other words, he's the one who decides. Once we said that, Kushiyale Rabbi Bar Chama. At that point, Rabbi Bar Chama said, hey, a man doesn't have the ability to hand over something to a person that's not in the world yet. So the kasha, according to the Ritva, the matkif Rabbi Bar Chama, hey, how can you do this thing? It's not in the world yet, is only according to the Gemara and not along to the Mishnah. Because in the Mishnah, it's possible that we could have a different pashat, which has nothing to do with the future. It's a general rule that every time this happens, the person, the shomer, is going to receive the kefil, because the rabbi said so. Nothing to do with the man handing it over, and therefore we have no problem of a davar shelo ba'olam according to the Mishnah. So we see we have a machlokas, the Ritva and the Rashi, of where the kasha is. According to Rashi, the kasha Rabbi Bar Chama is in the Mishnah, and according to the Ritva, the kasha is on the Gemara. Comes along the Torah's Chaim, and he wants to explain this Gemara, which hopefully will give us a deeper understanding of the machlokas, Rashi and the Ritva. He says like this. Simple understanding of the kasha of Bar Chama has to do with the saricha, has to do with the needs that the Gemara brought down as to why we need both. But if you didn't have this explanation, it's possible to say that the money that the shomer gave when the thing is lost or stolen, and the shomer says, I'm willing to pay, that money itself will kone the goof of the behemoth. And therefore, he'll get the kefil automatically. In other words, whoever owns the animal obviously gets the kefil. So therefore, you don't have a problem with a davar shelo ba'olam. But wait a second, how can he possibly kone? All he did was pay for it. How is it possible that he can get the animal and we made it the kefil if money doesn't work? So he wants to explain, no, that's only the Rabbanan that doesn't work. Here the answer say the rice, really the money is kone. We'll see in a minute, there's a machlokes in the Gemara further in Baba Metzia whether maos, money, cash, is kone or not, the rice or not. But he seems to be holding the side that it is kone. So, ele de chachamim tiknu, mashicha, shelo yamar lo, nusraf achitim ba'aliyah. Really, the only reason we want to say on the side that Malos is Kone Deraisa, the reason why it's not Kone, is because the rabbis came along and said, wait a second, we don't want this to be Kone. Why? Because if we allow money to be a legal acquisition, what's going to happen? People are going to buy things and they're going to leave them over in the other guy's place. They're never going to pick them up. Later, what will happen? Maybe there'll be a fire. And then the original owner, even though he knows about the fire, he's not going to bother to save the guy's thing. And we'll have many losses. So therefore the rabbis say, no, you have to have mashicha, you have to grab the thing in order to acquire it, which will cause the people to take the thing and take it home. And therefore if there's a fire, obviously they will shomer their own thing. And it will eliminate this problem. But this reasoning is not shaykh in our case, which will mean money will work. The only reason why money doesn't work the rice is because the rabbis came along and they made it tekana because of this problem. But we don't have this problem in our case. The thing's already lost. We don't have to worry about somebody else showering the thing. So since we don't have this problem, the rabbis are not going to make a gezerah in such a case. And we rely on the din of the Torah, which is a kinyan. Money works. I just want to bring you the source in Baba Metzia that says that money is koni deraisa. It says, "Could the Rav Yochanan, the Amar Rav Yochanan says, davar Torah maos konos." According to the Torah, if you pay for something, you acquired it. Umipnei ma sha'amru mashicha kone. Why do the rabbis require that you have to do mashicha? You have to pull the thing. You have to do a physical action to acquire it. Gezerah, it's a gezerah. It's a decree of the rabbis. Maybe we'll have a case where the stuff gets burnt up while it's still in the property of the original owner. In a thing that's common like fires, we made a gezerah. But in cases that don't happen too often, they did not make a gezerah. This is what the Torah's Chaim brought. And he's trying to explain what? He's trying to explain that without the Gemara, the Mishnah by itself, maybe a kinyan would work. Why? Because the Mishnah says that if he pays, he gets the kefil. How does that work? He acquires the animal. And we don't need Mashicha. And therefore, we don't have a problem with davar shelo ba'olam. Why? Because he acquired the animal. If he acquired the animal, surely he also acquired the kefil, just like the original owner. But the Torah's Chaim continues and says, wait, we got another problem. So, wait a second, how can he pay for this thing and acquire it, even if you say it works the Raisa, but the thing is gone? Where is it? How can you possibly give something over to somebody else if it's not in your possession? No, that's only if it was never in your possession. For example, like a house or something, if it was never in your possession, so you can't acquire it, that's true. It really was the original owners. So no matter where it is, it's still considered as if it's in his reshus, and he can sell it to the shomer. So now the Torah's Chaim has explained to us that the Mishnah, without the Gemara, it's possible that really money would work as a kinyan. And therefore, even though he doesn't say it, it will line up like the Ritva, because you could read the Mishnah that there is a kinyan. The Ritva had a different reason why there was a kinyan, was because the rabbis made a tikkun an olam, which means you don't have any problem that it doesn't exist to the future, because the rabbis made a general rule. The Torah's Chaim has a different legal mechanism how it works. It works because Mammon is Koneh. So as soon as he gives over the money, he acquires it. If he acquires Mamela, he acquires all future benefits that come out of this animal, these Kalim. But either way, they can both learn that the Mishnah is independent of the Gemara, and therefore the Kasha Roy Bar Chama will only be on the Gemara. The Torah's Chaim continues. But once the Gemara came along to explain the Mishnah, that the way it worked, that the Havamina was, if you knew Kalim, you wouldn't know Behema. Why? Lo makne le kefela. In such a case, he does not want to give over the kefela. Alma dahaki nami malaseno konos. In such a case, the money will not acquire. Why? Because it's in the hand of the Baal. He doesn't want to give it over. The ilav haki, if you don't say all of this, ma bakakta lo makne le ba'alim kefela, da hakev and da kone le apara, v'malasav, nikne le kefela mamela. In other words, if it wasn't for this problem, like we said earlier, of course there would be a kinyan. Ma bakakta lo makne le ba'alim kefela he. Kev and da kone le apara, v'malas, nikne le kefela mamela. He's going to automatically receive the payment. Therefore, it must be only according to the reasoning of the Gemara that we have the problem. And now the only way we can understand the Gemara is the way that Tosfos explains it. V'im kem sirik lomer kamosh kavod Tosfos shebeshas meshichas abali makne kefela. It must be at the original time he gave him the kefel. If that's true, psychodactic Gemina, the Havamina is, the Enomakte Gufa Para, he's not giving me the Gufa the Para, he's only giving me the Kefel at the time when he hands over. Not the whole animal, only the Kefel. If that's true, lekak parik. So now we have the kasher on bar chama. V'ha'en adamat makne davish lo ba'olam. A man can't give over something that doesn't even exist. How is it possible? He's just going to give him over the kefil in the future. It's not here yet. We don't have the answer to the Gemara, which we're going to learn later, which is on the next stop, that actually he acquired the entire animal at the time that he handed over. That's going to be the answer to the Gemara. But in the meantime, the Havamina is that he's only giving over the kefel. And you can't give over the kefel by itself because that is a davar shel ba'olam. And that's the kasha. But the kasha is only according to the Gemara's explanation of the Mishnah. And simply not in the Mishnah itself. The question will be now, how is Ritva and how are Rashi looking at these things? It seems to be that the Ritva really looks at the Mishnah as an independent entity without the Gemara's explanation, and Rashi is saying no. The Gemara itself is explaining Peshat in the Mishnah. Therefore, it's Hainu Hak. There's no difference between the Mishnah and the Gemara. They're both the same thing. If they're both the same thing, so the Kash is on the Mishnah. The Lechem Abiram explains Rashi like this: V'nirele de Perush Rashi de Masnisin Kaya Masne. Must be the Kash is on the Mishnah. That's what Rashi says. Why? Mushum di'iev shar derami bar chama asa al divrei misidrei Gemara Ravino Ravashi shiu achronim. Simple pshat in Lechem Abiram is that the ones that rendered the Gemara itself came after Rabbi Bar Chama. So Rabbi Bar Chama can't be asking on the Gemara itself. And that's why Rashi wants to say it's on the Mishnah. Okay, that's it for this week's Talmud podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share with your friends and look below this video to see if there's any links to some material that might help you to understand this class.